Stay, please. Test. Terrifier 3 is a new movie by Damien Leone. This is the direct sequel to the cult classics Terrifier and Terrifier 2, a series that deservingly has waltzed its way into the mainstream. The first movie, while undoubtedly rough, quickly grew in popularity, and at first I was putting it off. I was being closed-minded. From afar, it kind of looked like a cinematic equivalent of ICP, which I understand has its huge fan base, but has never really been my thing. Upon the release of Terrifier 2, I caught up with the predecessor and later its origin, and I found myself impressed at the level of craft that are on these movies. Moving on to Terrifier 2, it garnered an avalanche of support, and for good reason. It was a much better movie than the first one. It established a confident and charming final girl with Sienna Shaw, also deeper lore and better kills. It also tied up loose ends from the first movie, and with a crowdfunded $250K budget, I find what they pulled off to be a low budget triumph. It also fit into my top 10 list of favorite movies that year, so the anticipation for Terrifier 3 was pretty high for me. And setting the stage for this, we have a budget that is 5 times the size of the last one with $2 million. The returning heroine of Sienna Shaw, also a Christmas theme. Needless to say, I was excited to see what they were going to pull off, and I'm happy to say I found it really solid. I love this series, and I'm grateful that we're getting more entries. However, compared to the last movie, this is more of a celebratory victory lap, which is definitely not a bad thing, but I do find the previous movie to have a little more ideas and ambition to it. Definitely some tweaks are made to the formula here on Terrifier 3, but I also think there are things on Terrifier 2 that were done a little better. This one's set 5 years after the second movie. Sienna is in a mental ward, and she is leaving to go celebrate Christmas with her aunt and uncle, also reuniting with her little brother Jonathan, who is in college now. Meanwhile, Art the Clown is back again and causing havoc. So Sienna is going to have to face her demons once more. This really does take place right after the second, even retreading the post-credit scene with Chris Jericho. And I appreciate the team really putting the fans at the forefront. But I will say, for those that are just walking into this one, they might feel a little lost. Terrifier 2 did so well at establishing a lore and an origin of its evil, even crafting a fantasy element to it. And while there are flashbacks to strengthen these themes, as a whole, it is a little incoherent here. So much happened in the second movie, so much was introduced. I hesitate calling Terrifier 3 a filler sequel, because it's not. Important things do happen here. But if it were named a Terrifier Christmas, I probably wouldn't have bat an eye either. Speaking of Christmas, this movie is beautifully decorated. I'm convinced that the team aren't just Halloween fans, but overall holiday fans. There's tinsel and ornaments, presents, and mistletoe just crowded everywhere in this movie, and it's evident from the very first scene, which you may have heard how disturbing this opening scene is. I'm happy to say it is a home run. This is one of the best first scenes in a movie that I've seen all year. Not only is the mood established so natural, but we get a glimpse of what to expect with a higher budget. The sound is excellent, and the editing also is a notch higher. While it does feel more high res, it still has that fried look that the first two movies have. So it is not like a total overhaul. This is definitely a Terrifier sequel. It then goes into focusing on our heroine, Sienna Shaw, which despite Lauren Lavera giving an excellent turn here, her material is not too far off from the notable final girls like Laurie Strode or Sidney Prescott and their trauma, their survivor guilt from the predecessors. Another interesting thing is this movie is way funnier than the other two. And all of these movies have had a dark sense of humor, and it's not to discount how gruesome this movie is, but they really play up the laughs this time. And while I really do love and appreciate the joy that we get as an audience, it does kind of take away the tension. But really, some of these kills are just sickening and memorable too. One involving a shower, another that I'm not going to ruin, but it is close to the end of the movie. I don't know how they think of these things, but they are creative and they are very disturbing. Some of these kills make the traps on Saw look tame in comparison. And some people are either gonna love this. I find it to be a celebration of all things slasher and horror and Halloween, but some people might just find it a little too sick, and I completely understand. I do want to mention, though, the performance of Art the Clown by David Howard Thornton. I think it's one of the best performances of the year. I don't think that these movies would work at all if it wasn't for this guy's performance. He gives it his all. He seems to be having fun, and he's a star. He deserves everything. He deserves way more roles. So despite my qualms and honestly kind of a half-baked ending, I was very satisfied by this movie, and I do recommend it. I think the 1, 2, 3 punch that you could have this Halloween by watching Terrifier 3 is awesome and absolutely worth your time. I would give this a 7.4. Terrifier 3 is released by Cineverse and Bloody Disgusting. It is now playing in theaters everywhere. Thank you for watching.